Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, mgrahamsews. This video tutorial is for this beautiful bag called the Piero Sling Pack, and it's by UhOh Creations. Now before we discuss the features of the bag, there's just a couple things I wanted to go over. First is that this is filmed like a sew-along, and that means there's no parts sped up, no parts are cut out. You see me sew this whole bag in real time. If at any point there's something you don't want to watch, please feel free to fast forward. If you need to see something a second time, you can rewind. You can even watch it at a faster speed on YouTube. This tutorial is really here to help you make this bag, and there may be parts that you already know how to do, but there may be something you need some extra help with. So utilize this tutorial how you feel is best for you. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I do not show any pattern pieces. I mention no measurements, no nothing on camera. And that is for the protection of the designer, but also because I film during testing and oftentimes things can change. So if I give a measurement and it changes in the final pattern, it'll affect my tutorial. So by not mentioning it, nothing affects the tutorial. With that said, you will need to have the pattern open next to you so that you can follow along and know what the measurements are or where to place things. So now that I've discussed those, let's go over the features of the bag. So it is a sling pack, just as the title says. And the nice thing about it is it does have this padded strap, which will make it really comfortable when you're wearing it. You can also clip it on either side of the bag. So depending on if you want to wear your bag on the right or the left side, you just have to move your swivel hook to either side. It's a really great feature. I like that. On the front, we do have this pocket. And I like this pocket because it makes it a little bit harder to get into the way the pocket is designed. So it feels like it's a little bit more secure. So you see how that was for me to get that in there, and then to get it out, you kind of have to maneuver the pocket around. So I like that. It kind of feels like it's a little bit more secure. When you open the bag, double zippers to open it. It is a very big bag inside considering it's a small bag, but it is big. It'll hold everything you need, your wallet, your keys, your sunglasses. It'll hold everything. Now, it is a blank canvas inside, and what that means is Tara didn't add any zipper pockets or slip pockets or anything inside the bag. She left that for you to be able to decide if you want to add. She did give instructions on how to cut the slip pocket for inside, and it's the same thing as we do for the exterior without the flap, but then you end up with this slip pocket inside. So I'm just going to put my phone so you can see it. So there's the slip pocket. I like that pocket for things that you don't want to have to go rummaging through the bottom of your bag for, so medications or anything like that. They're nice, easy to find. It is done with binding, so you will see the binding here. And I like the binding because it acts like a skeleton. It gives the bag its shape. Really nice feature. And it also adds, as I was mentioning when we were sewing it, I feel like it adds that extra secure stitching because you have to stitch the bag together, then you stitch your binding on. So it's almost like it adds some extra security too to your stitching. You'll see the shape of the bag on the sides. Just a really nice bag, and it's a really fun sew, and it really doesn't take long to make. And that's what I really liked about it. You know, you could easily, if you needed a gift for somebody and you had to make it for the next day, you could easily make this in the one afternoon and have it ready for the next day. So again, this is the Piero Sling Pack by UhOh Creations. So let's get sewing our bag. So the very first thing you'll want to do is read through the entire pattern. This is important because it not only familiarizes you with the construction of the bag, but it's also important because designers will give information regarding different materials you're using, different interfacings. So for example, sometimes if you're using a cork or a vinyl, you may need to cut a pattern piece differently, or you may need to cut your interfacing differently. So you'll want to make notes of this before you begin cutting. Once you've read through the entire pattern, you'll want to go ahead and start cutting out all your pattern pieces out of the materials that you've chosen. For this bag, I'm using a canvas, and I'm using a quilting cotton and a soft vinyl. I've also gone ahead and put all my hardware inside this little baggie. I just like to do that so that it's all together and I don't lose anything, because before, when I wasn't doing this, sometimes hardware would fall on the floor and I wouldn't find it. So this just keeps everything together. You will also need to cut some binding for your bag because this bag is a bound bag. I'm using pre-made binding, but you can use some fold over elastic or you can make your own binding. So I have that in this bag as well. I also have my zipper in here. The other thing I've gone ahead and done, because I've read through, is I've made some marks where I need to make markings on my pattern pieces. And the other thing is my markings that are given on your pattern pieces, I've also transferred them to my physical pattern pieces out of my material. So I've also done that. So once you have that all done, you are ready to begin putting your bag together. And what you'll want to do, the first thing is fuse all your interfacings. So I've already done that as well. You'll see here that I have all my interfacings fused. And I didn't attach interfacings to my canvas because it doesn't need it, so I've omitted that. So again, depending on the materials you're using, you'll want to know that you may not need to add interfacings to them. And I know that it is mentioned in this pattern that if you are using vinyl or cork or canvas, on the exterior material, you do not need to cut the interfacing for those pieces. So again, just something you need to note when you begin your pattern, or your bag, sorry. So now that we have that all done, we can get started. And the very first thing we're going to do is construct our strap anchors. And that's these two little pieces here. And I've already gone ahead and marked a line down the center, the entire length of the connector. Now, if you're using a material that you can press with your iron, you can go ahead and do this with your iron, but so that I don't have to get up during the video, I'm just going to use some double-sided tape. So what you're going to do is, after you have that line marked down the center, we're going to fold the long raw edges in to meet in the center. My double-sided tape has folded in on itself, so I'm just going to rip that piece off. And we're doing this for both the connectors. So again, folding those long edges in to meet in the center. So that your raw edges are touching. So just like that. And once this is done, we will top stitch the long edges. So they look like that. We folded the long raw edges in to meet the center. Now we're going to top stitch down each folded edge. Oh, my light's coming off. So adjust your stitch length to the length you like to use for stitching. Trim all your threads. You don't want peekaboo threads later. It's a little bit hard for me to see against some of the black on that print. So then there we have it. They're top stitched. Now what you're going to do is grab your D-ring, and you should have two of them. And we're going to slide the strap anchor onto the D-ring and fold it in half. And now we're going to baste this short raw edge together. And when you're basting that short raw edge together, you can leave your stitch length at a longer stitch length. It's just a basting stitch. It holds the ends together. My hands aren't working today. All right. Now we're going to just set these two aside, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them back in my bag of hardware just so that they don't get lost somewhere. Next, you're going to grab one of your strap pieces, and it doesn't matter which one at this point. I'm just grabbing the one with the foam basted to it. And you're going to take your webbing and we're going to place it down here at the bottom smallest edge of your strap. So if you look at this strap piece, it has one edge that is smaller in width than the other. That's the bottom edge of your strap. And you're going to take your webbing and you're going to place it so that it runs on top of your strap. And then there's an end that's going to stick off, and there's a measurement given in the pattern. And I'm just trying to find where I made that mark. I think it brushed off, so I may have to go off camera and just do that quickly. Yep. So there's a measurement given in the pattern for how far off the webbing needs to be off the end of the strap. So you'll want to make note of that. So it'll protrude off the end and you want it to be centered. And you can take your ruler and you can measure this, or you can just do what I'm doing, which is sort of eyeballing it. Clip it in place. And it'll look just like this. So see how my webbing is going on top of my strap, and I have it protruding off the end using that measurement given in the pattern. Now we're going to baste the webbing in place. Don't trim that webbing that's hanging off. You want that webbing to stay like that. And what that's going to do is that's going to add some security to the webbing once it's all sewn together with the strap. So now what we need to do is take our remaining strap piece and place it so that it is right sides together with the first strap piece. And you're going to clip this in place. So they're pretty sides touching right now, and all we're seeing is the wrong side of the strap. And you'll have this strap piece here that we've attached going up the center of it. Try to keep it out of the side seam allowances. You don't want to accidentally sew it into your side seam allowance. And then we're going to clip it all the way up. Now, I'm using a canvas, and what I'm going to do to make it easier when I go to turn, which I won't do on camera, is I'm going to use some my iron, and I'm going to iron it, and that's going to heat it up and make this so that it's easier for me to turn. However, if you're using something here like a vinyl or a cork, something that's a little bit harder to turn, a little tip, you can leave an opening in your side here long enough to be able to turn your strap through that opening. Fold your edges under, and then when you top stitch, you'll top stitch that whole thing closed. But I'm going to try and go through the top here and try and pull it out that way, because once I heat this up, it'll make it way easier to manipulate. So I'm going to sew down the one long edge all the way around, come down to the bottom here, sew across the bottom, and all the way up the second edge. And don't forget to back stitch at start and stop. And you're going to sew this with the seam allowance given in the pattern. And I just need to go back because I forgot to read what the seam allowance was. Silly. So sewing with the seam allowance given in the pattern. I'm going all the way down the one side. And I like to back stitch when I get to those corners. It helps secure the corner so that when I go to turn my strap out, or even a corner, say on a bag, it helps secure it and makes it so when I'm poking it out, it just makes it stronger in that corner. Oh, my microphone is getting pulled. Okie dokie. Now, we're going to trim our corners. First, trim your threads. But we're going to trim these corners. Do not trim this strap piece here. So avoid trimming that, but trim your corners down. And avoid cutting your stitching. I'm going to stitch back over the bottom here, just to help reinforce this strap. There we go. And this is where you're going to start turning your strap out. And that's what I was saying, that I'm going to go heat this up with my iron so I can make it easier, although it's not too bad, to turn. So I'm going to go do that with my iron. So I'm going to pause the camera, turn your strap right sides out all the way, and then give it a really good press. And then when we come back, I will show you how to top stitch all the way around. So I've turned my whole strap right sides out and I've given it a really good press. Now, another thing I wanted to mention, if you have a seam pounder, you can hammer the end here to flatten it out, and that'll help make it easier when we're top stitching, because this area can be a little bit bulky depending on the materials you're using. I've also made a mark down the center of my strap, because if we look at the next few steps, Tara does suggest to stitch up the center of your strap. So now we're going to top stitch around the entire edge of the strap. So down the one side, across the bottom here, and up the other side. We're going to go across the top here too, just to close that off, and then we'll stitch down the bottom. So change your stitch length to the length you like to use for top stitching. Oh, I ran out of bobbin thread. I didn't even realize that. Look at that, all the way down, and I ran out of bobbin thread. So I need to go and wind my bobbin, and then I'll come back and we will continue on. All right, so I got the bobbin all reloaded and I started stitching. So again, I'm going down the sides and across the bottom. Now I'm going to go down the center, and I can see that line that I drew. And if you don't want to stitch down the center, you don't have to. You can also stitch a second row of stitching beside your top stitching as well. You can do any stitching you want. This is your strap. Just want to get right back in where my previous stitches were. And then I'm going to back stitch down here. Now another thing you can do here is you can also add a rivet if you want. Just trying to get it to end right back where it was. You can add a rivet at the bottom here, and that'll help add some extra strength and security where the end of your strap, or not strap, your webbing is. And again, that's just a personal preference. I'll probably do that at the end when I'm done. Don't need to do that right now. But that's how your strap will look when it's all stitched. I know it probably is hard to see, but you can see it's all stitched. And the foam inside, because that's where you'll be wearing this, is over your shoulder, this part. This will make it nice and soft, so it won't be so hard like the webbing would be. So it'll make it a little bit softer for you and more cushioned. So we're going to stick our strap to the side for now. And we're going to move on with constructing the exterior part of the bag. And for this, we need to grab our 2 slip pocket pieces first. So they'll look like this. You'll have an exterior and a lining, and you're going to place these so they are right sides together. So right sides together, pin along that top straight edge. So we're going to stitch along that top straight edge. And don't forget to return your stitch length back to the length you used for stitching. We'll flip the fabrics so that they are right sides out. And if you can, or if you're like me and you've made marks on the exterior, or on the lining, sorry, the wrong sides of your fabric, you want to transfer those marks to the right sides of your fabric right now in your seam allowance. So I'm just pressing this seam open here, and then I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to clip these together, and I'm going to make sure I line up those center marks. Now I'm going to take this to my iron, and I'm going to press this so that this edge here is nicely pressed all flat, and then I'll come back and we will continue on. All right, so I've given that a press. Now we're going to top stitch around that top edge and then around the raw edges as well. Threads. And that's how that looks for now. So we'll set this to the side. Now we need to grab our, I don't know where mine went, our flap tab piece. And again, just like we did with the strap connectors, we need to draw that line down the center, and then we need to press our long raw edges in to meet in the center. So I'm going to use some double-sided tape again. And then we'll top stitch those folded long edges. So now it'll look like that. Once we have that, we will fold, and I just want to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. We will fold the tab in half, bringing the short ends together, just like that. Then we need to take our exterior flap. We're going to place it right sides up, and we're going to place this tab along the bottom edge, aligning the raw edges. So you want to center it and line the raw edges, and you can use your center mark that you have from your pattern piece to center it. And then we're going to baste this in place. Just like that. So it'll look just like that. So you see how my flap tab goes up? It's not hanging off, it's right on top of the flap. Now we need to take our lining flap and we need to place it so it is right sides down on top of our exterior flap. So they're pretty sides touching. Pin it together. And I'm actually going to transfer my center marks before I pin. Just within my seam allowance. All right. So lining up our little center marks. Pin it all the way around. Now what we're going to do, and I know we've pinned it, but I just like to pin it all the way around to prevent it from moving, is this edge here, we're going to stitch across, down along the bottom, across, and back up and over it. And only that edge is what you're stitching at this moment. When you get to where the flap tab is, you can back stitch over that just to add some extra security. Now we need to trim the seam allowances, so I'm going to use my pinking shears for this. I'm not going to trim where that tab is. I'm going to leave that area long. Now we got to turn it. And this is where your turning tool, if you have one, will come in handy. If not, you can use a chopstick or anything you have to get your corners pushed out. And we will need to take this to our iron to give it a press. You can already see it's starting to take shape. I'm going to add a little snip into this corner here just to help push it out. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go press my flap and then we'll come back and we'll top stitch all the way around it. Now that the flap is pressed, we can top stitch along this bottom edge where we sewed and then sew all the way around to close up those raw edges. And don't forget to back stitch at start and stop. Take your time going around all the little corners. Trim any threads. And there's our flap all completed. Now we need to take our pocket lining. So it looks like this piece. We need to grab our slip pocket and we need to place it right sides up on top of our pocket lining. So here's my pocket lining. I'm going to place this right sides up. We're aligning that bottom curved edge and our center marks. Line everything up. Get it all clipped in place. Just like that. See how it looks? Then we're going to place the flap on top. Again, lining up your center marks. See, my center mark is kind of rubbing off, so I'm going to draw it in darker. So line up those center marks on the flap with the center mark on your lining pocket. If something seems off on yours, just like it did on mine, yeah, something's not right. There we go. I don't think I had that lined up quite correctly. There we go. If it doesn't line up and you're finding that your flap seems like it's crooked, go ahead and readjust. I didn't line mine up quite right. And now, there we go, everything's all lined up. Sometimes that happens. But you definitely want to take your time and get it all lined up because this is the front of your bag. So you'll see my flap just comes just at the top of my pocket piece. And when I was pinning it originally, one side was down a little too far. Using a lot of clips because I don't want this to shift on me at all. All right, now we're going to baste this whole thing in place. So you can start anywhere on your bag and just baste it all in place. And when I get to here, I'm just going to back stitch where the pocket and the flap meet, just to really help secure that. Oops, I sewed off my pocket there. Trim your threads. And there we have it. The front is complete. We have our cute little pocket here. Let's see if the phone fits. I like it. It's a bit of a secure pocket because you have to sort of lift up the flap to get into it, so it makes it a little extra secure. But my phone, as you can see, fits in here no problem. So it's a nice big pocket. Even your sunglasses would fit in there. A great pocket. Now we need to take the back body and front body and pin them together and sew them together. So we're going to take the front and place it right sides up, just leave it how it is, and we'll take the back body and we're going to place it right sides down, and we're going to align those center marks. Get it pinned in place. And it's going to feel wonky because the back body has that curve that goes opposite of your front. Get it all pinned. Easing in those curves. So it's going to look like this. So it's going to look a little wonky, but it will work. And now Tara also suggests adding some snips into the body, the curve, to help it ease in. So I'm just going to make little snips within my seam allowance between each of my clips. Okay. And now we're going to sew this with the full seam allowance. Forgot to return my stitch length. And I'm just going slowly here because I really want to make sure that I don't have any puckers and everything is nice and flat. And now we have to press this so it goes down towards the seam back body, or to the back body. Press the seam towards the back body. And you're not top stitching this, not yet. So I'm going to go give this a really good press with my iron and I'll be right back. So I've got that seam nicely pressed, and I wanted to share a tip. When I'm pressing seams, often I will use a spritz bottle and I will spray a bit of water, and that really helps press my seams nice and flat. I don't leave water in my iron, so I just have a water bottle with water in it, and that way there I can get really crisp seams when I'm pressing things. So now that we have this complete, we need to flip it over because we need to attach our foam, and you want to get it centered. So I have center marks made on my panel, and I have center marks made on my foam, and you can line it up. Now you can use some basting spray, you can use some glue, you can use whatever you prefer. I'm going to use some double-sided tape to help hold this in place, just because the foam is not cut the same width as our panel, and that'll help keep any bulk out of our seam allowances, which is great for when you're doing your binding, because the binding can get pretty bulky with all the seams. Now once I'm done this, I'm going to go construct my lining, because I didn't just cut the lining from the one piece that was given in the pattern. I'm constructing it from the tip that Tara gave so that I can have an extra slip pocket in my lining. And the slip pocket is just constructed the exact same way as we did our exterior here, but you're not adding the flap. So if you want to do that, you can go ahead and also do that as soon as we're done attaching our foam and get it all sewn up. I will pause the camera because I don't feel you need to watch me sew that pocket again, and I'll come back and I'll show you how it looks when I'm done though. Oops. So my foam is now attached. I just used some double-sided tape and that'll help hold it in place. So now that my foam is attached, I'm just going to make sure that this is centered. Now that that foam is attached, I can go ahead and construct my lining. So again, I'm going to do it the exact same way I did this. Oh, sorry, before we move on, we are going to top stitch this curved edge here. I forgot we have to do that. Oh, I keep hitting this light. And what this does is not only does it top stitch that edge, but it also helps hold the foam too, which is great. So you'll see from the back how it's top stitched, and then on the front it's top stitched. So now I'm going to go and construct my lining, and then I'll come back and we will continue on. So I've completed my lining with the slip pocket. So it's the same thing as the exterior, we just don't have that flap over it. So now I'm going to put that to the side. Next, we're going to grab our zipper gusset pieces, and that's these 4 pieces here. And when I cut these out, what I did was I marked with an X where the zipper would be, just so that when I go to construct this, I'm not confused as to which side the zipper goes on. So put those like this. We need to grab our zipper. And if you haven't already, you'll want to put your pulls onto your zipper tape. Now we're going to grab the back zipper gusset, the exterior, and we need to mark the center of our zipper tape. Whoop! Throwing things around here. I've got to reattach my microphone, sorry about that. So we want to mark the center of our zipper tape, and to do that I just fold it in half and create a crease, and then I use my chalk pen to mark the center. Now you want to make sure you're placing your zipper on the edge where the zipper is supposed to go. Again, that's why it was important that I marked the X on there. So we're going to leave this right sides up. Right now I'm working on the curved edge of the back zipper gusset, and I'm going to line up my center marks. Pin it in place. So we have it pinned in place. Now we're going to baste this in place from the center out to each edge. And the reason why we're going from the center is it helps it from shifting on us. I just slid my zipper pulls out of the way. Trim your threads. Now we're going to take the lining gusset, back gusset, and clip it together. Oh. Lining up our center mark. And I also clip the ends in place. And then we're going to sew this in place using the seam allowance given in the pattern. And I'm going to switch to my zipper foot just to make it easier to stitch. If I can find it in here. Oops. So I don't want to stitch where my zipper pulls are, so I'm going to lift my presser foot up with my needle down and slide them out of the way. So now I don't have to worry about them anymore. Going to trim all my threads. We need to press both these fabrics away from the zipper and then top stitch through that seam allowance. However, I'm going to wait because I'm going to go and press at the same time rather than me stopping the camera now and then getting up again later to do it and stopping the camera again. I'm just going to pin them out of the way for now, and then I'll press them all at the same time, and we'll top stitch all at the same time. This is just easier for me because of filming. I don't have to get up and down so much because that's a little bit hard on me. But that's how it'll look, and then we're going to top stitch after. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the other side of the zipper to the front panel now. And again, make sure you're attaching the zipper to where your zipper is supposed to be attached. So we're repeating all the same steps that we did for the back, but now we're attaching the front. And now I'm attaching the lining. Same thing. Pin it all the way. Just trying to feel for where those zipper pulls are so I know not to sew over them. They're right there. Now I can't press the front of my panels because I used a soft vinyl here for this, but I can press the back. So I'm going to go and do that, and then I'll come back and we will top stitch it all and continue on with constructing our bag. They're now pressed. Now we're going to go ahead and top stitch just as it's given in the pattern. So you're going to top stitch, I should show you, away from the zipper edge here all the way around, and you're going to stitch these raw edges closed as well. Use your favorite length you like to use for top stitching. I like to move my zipper pulls out of the way because they are dangly and I don't want to hit them as I'm stitching. we need to trim all our threads. This is going to be hard for me to see. Don't trim your zipper tapes or anything. Leave them so that they are long. But now we have it all stitched. So next we need to take out or take our gusset ends, and I'm just trying to find them here. And it says even out the ends, the front gusset is a touch longer than the back gusset by trimming the zipper and front gusset even with the back gusset. So we have to trim everything. So we have to trim everything. So this is where we are trimming, and I'm going to use my zipper scissors. Get everything trimmed evenly. All right, so I've trimmed it evenly, so it's all trimmed evenly. You want this to be even. So now we're going to take a lining gusset and lay it right sides up, and I just want to see which way they go. I don't want to do this wrong. So the angle of the gusset will be the same angle as your side gusset or bottom gusset. What's this called? Sorry. The end gusset, sorry, will be on the same angle as your zipper panel here that you have. So you'll want them to be going the same way. You're going to clip them together. You're lining those short edges. So it'll look like this, so it'll stick off. And I'm going to place them both on the linings. But sorry, I'm supposed to be putting it on the lining side. I may have just confused you. So this has to go on the lining side. The lining against the lining. I was thinking exterior. So just make sure you're placing them the correct way. And I am going to baste this in place just to help hold it. So you see how when I'm attaching it, so right now I'm looking at my lining side, and my front is here, my front zipper gusset is here, and my back zipper gusset is here. And see how it sticks off? And the way it lines up is they're both angled the same way. And you just clip it in place. So I'm going to go ahead and baste this because I don't want it to shift on me when I go to attach my exterior. And this is also where you find out if you used an accurate seam allowance, because your zipper gusset here should be the same as width as your zipper ends. But see how it looks now? How it goes the same way and it's all one long piece. Flip it over, attach your exteriors, and just make sure again that they're lined up the same way, that the angles meet. You don't want it going the other way. Clip it in place. And then we're going to sew this with a full seam allowance. And just be careful, because we already have the lining attached, that your lining doesn't go up underneath your needle. You want the lining to be flat like this underneath. You want to see the lining hanging down. Trim our threads. Then we're going to press the fabrics away from the front and back zipper gusset. And I'm just using clips here to help hold everything in place. If you're using a material that you can take to your iron and press it, please do. Now I have some marks that are on my lining side that I need to transfer to this side. Oops. Right there, I can see it. You want to make sure you can see all your marks. Do them within the seam allowance. And now we're going to top stitch across this edge where the zipper is, where the zipper gusset met the bottom gusset, and then, or the zipper ends, or gusset ends, sorry. We're going to top stitch, and then we'll stitch all the way around the raw edges to baste them together. Again, if your marks haven't been transferred to the front, you'll want to go ahead and do that so that you can see them, because these will be very important when we go to put the bag together. And I know it's hard to see, but you can see that I'm going to try and watch what I'm doing on the camera here. You can see the top stitching. Yeah, there you go. You can see the top stitching across just underneath where the zipper front and back meet this gusset end. And I've top stitched all the way around to help secure the fabrics in place. Now I'm just going to go give this a press just to get it all nice and flat, and then I'll come back and we are on to the adding the zipper, or not the zipper, the strap anchors. All right, so I've given it a press. I just wanted to get it flat. Now we need to grab those strap anchors that we constructed earlier. And that mark that we made originally on your gusset end piece, the ones that I was transferring earlier, that's where these are going to go. There's also a measurement that you can use in the pattern for where to place them. So pin them in place, and then we're going to baste them. I just want to make sure. So we have to have it protruding a certain amount. So I need to make sure I have that. Do that with this one. All right, so you want them to protrude, so that means stick off the edge, and there is a measurement to given in the pattern for where to place them and how far they are going to come off the end of your zipper end or your gusset end. Trim your threads. And you baste in place with 2 lines of stitching. So I'm just doing that, doing the second line of stitching. And I'm not super concerned about the threads in the back because those aren't really going to be seen because they're going to be between all the layers. But that's how it looks. So you'll see how my D-ring is against the gusset end. It's not sticking off the other way. It's where the gusset end is. Turn it down. There you go. Just like that. Now we're at the final construction part, which is really exciting. So we need to take our front and back body and place it right side down. I was just reading to make sure. And then we're going to take our main lining and we're going to also place this right sides down. Now I've done a pocket and I want this pocket to be at the back of the bag when I'm wearing the bag. So I don't want it to be on the front in the same place where that front pocket is. You'll just find it'll be really bulky, and if I have things in this pocket and things in this pocket, it'll make it a little bit bulky on me. So I'm going to place the back pocket that I made so it's opposite side of the front pocket. I'm just transferring all my marks so I can have them there when we get to those steps where they're needed. Now, the nice thing about this bag is you can add more pockets and such as you want. It's a great bag for that. That's why Tara left it blank. I love that we have the option to customize it. So if you know how to add a zipper pocket, you could add a zipper pocket to the interior of the bag. You can add another slip pocket. You can do whatever you want. There we go. So I've got that all marked. I can't see this. There we go. Now, back to what I was saying. I need to place my lining and main body together. So we're going to pin them in place. So I'm lining up those center marks at the top edges. And everything in place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to baste stitch all the way around this whole panel. To attach it together. And I'm using a longer stitch length because, again, it's a basting stitch. Oops, didn't want to do that. And the reason why we're attaching these like this is because we are going to be binding the bag, so you need all your pieces attached together. There we go. So I'm just going to go off camera and I'm going to give my lining a little press just to really make sure it's pressed nicely. And I've got a couple of wrinkles here and I just want to kind of get those out. So I'm going to press it and then I'll come back and we will attach our strap. All right, so I gave that a press and it got out the little wrinkles that I was worried about. Wasn't a big deal, but I just wanted to make sure they weren't there. Now we need to attach our strap, and the strap needs to be attached to the back of the bag. And the back of the bag is opposite of where we have this pocket here. So you need to get that attached. So you're going to line it up and you're going to see if it's centered, and it is. The center mark, if you stitch down the center, will be the center stitching. And you'll line that up with your center mark. And mine's a little bit hard to see. Just going to try to draw it in a little darker. There we go. It's just hard to see. There we go. So just like that. So now it's all centered. I'm just going to make sure. Yeah, it's centered. And now we're going to baste the strap in place. And I just want to make sure, so when I'm wearing the bag, you want to make sure that the side of the strap that you think looks the nicest is the side that's going to be showing on the outside, which mine pretty much looks the same on both sides, but there we go. If you have one side that looks nicer from stitching or whatever, you want to make sure that that's the side that's going to be against the bag and against your body. Oops. So I did the 2 lines of stitching, but I'm just going to stitch. It feels like it's not, didn't really catch very well there. There we go. You want to make sure you catch it. All right, so any of your markings that you made on your bag, you want to get all those marks transferred. And that was what I was doing earlier, but I'm just retransferring them all. Ah. This one's a bit hard to see, so I'm going to have to use my Clover Choco one. You want to make sure all those markings are visible. center markings are visible as well. Now, these are easy to do because all we need to do is just fold this one in half and find the center. I'm not having any luck with it showing up. I used the wrong colors, I think. Just going to use this within my seam allowance so it stays. Normally I wouldn't recommend using this, but I'm using it within my seam allowance. I've used it before and I'm okay with that. I haven't had any issues in the past. I just really need something that's going to stand out for me to see, because the pencil is not really showing its blending, and even this blends. Okay, so just going to tuck that. Now what we're going to do is you need to start with, let's just make sure. So this is going, so you need to make sure the back zipper gusset, and that's the wider part of the gusset, you're going to line it up with the center mark on your back, and the back of the bag is where the strap is attached. So you're going to line that up. And we're just pinning it around. And I got to find where my center is here. I'm just lining it up along the edges, and then now that we have it curved, I'm going to line it up with the front zipper gusset with the front of the bag, and then I'll continue pinning after. Now our strap, you're going to want to kind of tuck it so that it stays out of the way. And this is the part where we're going to kind of wrestle the bag the most. But we're almost done. We just have to sew this all together, and then our bag is done once we attach the binding, sorry. This is always my favorite part. I love seeing it when it's almost completed. Sense of accomplishment. And I'm using a lot of clips because I really want to ensure it stays in place as I'm sewing. Because like I said, we're going to be wrestling this quite a bit. Ooh, that hurt. All right, I'm going to grab out my extension table just so that I'm not fighting with gravity to keep the bag flat. And we're going to stitch this all the way around. Using the seam allowance given in the pattern. Take your time. Especially when you're coming around this curved edge here, really take your time to make sure everything stays together and it doesn't shift on you. Like I said, we're going to be wrestling this a lot. Don't want it to shift at all. I pulled too hard. Oops. I'm losing some clips here. Undoing clips as I go. I'm gonna have to repin. The other thing too is you want to make sure that that D-ring, when you're coming around where the D-ring is pointing in towards your bag, not towards the seam. And really those curves are going to be the hardest part of sewing, but you can do it. Another thing you can do is add snips into the curves to help spread the fabric. I'm going to open this. It might be a little bit easier for me. Make sure everything's flat underneath your needle. Feel that that D-ring is going in. That's good. That's what I want. workout for my hands. Oh, shoot, I hit that. I think I might have. Oh, phew, thought I broke that. Okay, now I'm sweating, but we're done. We made it all the way around with only one little hiccup. So now I'm just trimming all my threads. Even threads from my fabric where it's frayed a bit. Do not trim where your strap end is, or strap anchor. Don't trim that just yet. But I just want to trim any of the loose threads that we have. Just want to check and see how it looks. And I'm just checking to see how it looks, and you can see it looks great so far. Now, I have a spot here on my strap where we attached it, where it doesn't go with the curve. So I'm just getting rid of that. Now I am going to trim down my strap anchor just a little bit, because when I go to put the binding over it, it's not really going to go over it because it sticks out too far. For now, I will close this. All right, so whichever binding method you have that you prefer, you can use that. You can follow the one that Tara does in the video, in the pattern, or whichever you prefer. I'm just going to see if this binding is long enough. So if it is, I don't have to open up a new pack. Yes, it is. Okay. So I don't have to open a new pack. Yay. All right, so here is how I do my binding. I use some double-sided tape. And my binding isn't always perfect, and I'm okay with that because it's inside the bag where you really don't see it. Sometimes I have really good binding, sometimes my binding is a little wonky. Just depends. I don't get too hard on myself. So I use double-sided tape, and I go all the way around the bag with the double-sided tape. And what this is going to do is it's going to hold my binding in place so I can get both sides attached. And usually I would start at the bottom of the bag, but for now I'm just starting at the side here. And all I'm doing is I'm taking my binding and I'm just folding it over. So I'm making sure the seam of the binding, or the edge of the center of the binding, goes right with that seam. So I'm putting it over and lining up the seam into the center of the binding. And I'm just placing it over. And I will need to trim this shorter because it's still too long. Oops. And again, you can use whatever method you prefer for your binding. This is just the method that I find works best for me. And I find it the fastest too for me. You can even use a vinyl, excuse me, a waterproof canvas or water resistant canvas because it's a non-fraying material for your binding. Fold over elastic, whichever you prefer. Everybody has their preference. But I will admit, when I first started doing binding, it took a few tries before I was fully comfortable with it. And before I found what really works for me. So you'll want to find what works for you when you do binding. Fold over elastic and myself are not friends, so I never use fold over elastic. I don't know why, but we are just not friends. So now I'm going to fold one end so I don't have any raw edges and press it. And I just tuck it in to the binding. Add a clip, and now I have to use some double-sided tape on the other side here to get it to stick down. I know it's a lot of double-sided tape, but trust me, it's worth it. It helps. You could just clip it too and just sew. I've done that before, but for the video I don't want to have any issues. Oops. And if this part is kind of boring to you, go ahead and fast forward through the video to where I get sewing this. And I'm fixing the back side as well because I did pull on it, so I don't want it to be uneven. So I'm just sort of fixing it as I go. Like right here, I've pulled on it a little too much, so we're going to just adjust the binding so it comes back where it should be. So anywhere that my binding needs to be adjusted, I'll go back and I'll adjust it. So that's how it's looking so far. And now we're going to stitch it down, and because I've used the double-sided tape, I can just go all the way around, not worry about what's underneath because I know it's stuck there in place. So I'm sewing my binding down, I'm just going all the way around. And you know what I also like about binding is because you're stitching around the bag another time, so you're actually reinforcing it again, which is great. And I find these corners, now that I have it stitched down, or not these corners, these bottom curves here, now that we have it already stitched, they're a little bit easier to go around. Arms a rest. I'm going to trim my threads. Check to make sure that the binding is sewn everywhere, which it is. Turn our sling right sides out. And the other thing about binding, another thing I like, is that it gives the bag structure. So if you didn't use an interfacing, you'll find that the binding will help give the bag some structure. It kind of acts like a skeleton. It holds the bag up. Look at how nice that looks. So binding has lots of great qualities to it. Lots of advantages. I obviously need to give my bag a good press. But you can already see how it's taking shape. After I give it a really good press, get all the curves pressed out nicely. Roll out your curves. It's a nice size too. You'll fit everything you need in here. think I'm keeping this for myself. Be great for traveling. When I go away and I just don't want to wear a big bag, I can still fit everything I need in here. My glasses, my purse, my wallet, I mean, everything will fit nicely in here. All right, so now that we're done that, I'm going to put this off to the side. We need to attach our hardware. And to do that, first we need our slider. So we're going to grab our bag. You're going to slide your strap over the middle bar, so it looks like that. So the middle bar is between right now. So see, you have the middle bar between. Then you're going to slide your swivel hook on. So I've got my strap slider like this, so it's facing up. My strap slider is up. I'm going to bring it down here more so you can see it. Oh, something happened. It got caught on something there. So there's my strap slider. I need to put my swivel hook on, but I want my swivel hook to be facing down. So here's my swivel hook, strap slider. I'm going to slide the end of my strap into the hardware of my swivel hook, bring it down. Now we need to give some room here because we now have to bring back up our strap slider. So you're going to go up and over again that center bar. Now be careful because you don't want to do what I've done before, which was accidentally stitch it to the wrong part of the strap. So it's the piece that you just went up and over is what you're stitching down. So I'm going to add some pins or some clips here, and then we're going to stitch this in place. And I don't want it to be quite that long. You can also add a rivet here. I may go back after and add a rivet when I'm done. You don't need to see me do that. That's not part of the pattern. That's just a personal choice. Trying to give myself a bit more room here. So I'm just back stitching a bunch of times. And I'm going to do that again. Just stitched a bunch of times. You can do a box with an X, but because I'm going to do the rivet later, I'm just going to leave it as is and then add the rivet. And then you can clip it to either side. So depending on whether you're going to wear your bag on the left or the right side, you can clip it to either side, just like that. And there it is. Your Piero Sling Pack is all done. We've added our beautiful front pocket, which perfectly fits a phone. If you've wanted, you've added that slip pocket inside. We've bound it. It's a really great little bag. It'll fit everything you need. I think this is a really good size. Not too big, not too small. And the nice thing about it is you can wear it across the front of your body as well for extra security when you're in crowded areas. The padded strap here will make it really comfortable to wear and it won't feel like it's cutting into you. So now that your Piero Sling Pack is all complete, all you need to do is take lots of pictures and post it on social media so we can see it. Don't forget to tag us as well, or tag Tara in the pictures so that she can easily see them. I do hope you enjoyed sewing along with me and maybe picked up a few tips and tricks along the way. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Happy sewing. Bye.